Hello and welcome to a video on the Enuma Elish, which is a series of tablets in the British Museum. I'm going to be going through them one tablet at a time because I have to try and hold the phone, etc. at the same time. So this is the first tablet, so forgive me if I'm doing this a bit different to normal. I like to do these ways because I can actually describe things easier than typing it and then getting an AI to reply. So the first tablet, now this is a Babylonian tablet, which means it would have more than likely been authorized by Marduk, and the date of this tablet coincides with Marduk being Yahweh. So in other words, Marduk may have told people what to write, and when we go through this, you'll see that Marduk has decided that he was the most important thing ever. As we go through this, you'll see how egotistical he got. He's even worse than me. So here we go. When in the height of heaven, now heaven is space, we know that, we've done videos on that, was not named. So there was no name for heaven space in our solar system. So everything that I'm talking about here is our solar system. Forgive the wobbly camera work, that's not what I normally do on my movies. I'm holding by my hand. And the earth beneath did not yet bear a name. So that in fact at this point there was no earth beneath. In other words, there was no name for earth because there was nothing here. And you'll see that in the next few paragraphs. And the primeval Apsu who begat them. So from my research, Apsu was the sun who gave life, begat meaning to give, and chaos, the Tiamat, the mother of them both. Sorry, I'm probably dyslexic. The mother of them both. So it's not actually referring to Apsu as the mother, because it carries on, and then you'll see in a second. So the way the Sumerians or the Babylonians wrote is they wrote it in such a way that the event happened after what they're talking about. It's kind of weird. That's why you get determinatives with the end. So for example, Lagash Kai is saying Earth's got Lagash, which is a city on Earth. That's the way they do it. Don't blame me. Their waters mingle together. Now if you go to the Bible, you'll see that the waters mingle together, and if you watch one of my fairly recent TikTok videos, you'll see that mainstream have said that a solar system outside of our solar system is planets are being formed by water, so their waters mingle together. So there is other translations of the same event where the waters mingled, etc. And no field was formed, no marsh was to be seen. In other words, nothing there. When of the gods none had been called into being. So the planets were called deities by the Anunnaki. Feel free to watch some other videos to see that. So this is where the Bible kind of takes the inspiration that God created everything, because there was no God at that point, and then suddenly there was God, and God then suddenly created other planets, which you'll see is just the name for the planets. And then it says, and none bore a name, and no destinies were ordained. So the destinies is the orbital paths, which you'll find later on. Then then were created the gods in the midst of heaven, in other words, in the middle of space. Lahmu and Lahamu. So that's Mars and Venus. If you're interested in seeing the names of these planets, I do have a family tree, which I'll show you right now. So here we have Tiamat. We have Ki, which is Earth. We have the Apsu over here. And so when you click on Tiamat, for example, you can look over here on this side, and it explains what it was called in different places. So this is my own family tree that I've done. You can get to it from my Patreon page. So let's get back to where we are. Ages increased, in other words, time passed. Then Ansar and Kisar were created. So Ansar was Saturn, And Kishar, I have to find where Kishar is. Kishar's there, was Jupiter. So Ansar and Kishar was created, and over them, ... When it says ... it means it's missing parts of the text. So there was probably more to it, but the lines or the text was damaged in some way in the tablets. Long were the days when there came forth Anu, their son, Ansar and Anu, and Anu, and the god Anu, again deity, not an almighty being. So again, if you're interested in this, An was also called Anu, which was Uranus, and I have worked out with evidence that Oranius in the Greek was Anu. Again, the Greeks called Anu, which was a real character later on. So basically, yeah, you get the idea. Then were created the gods in the midst of heaven. Lachmu and Lamu were created in the beginning. Read down, sorry. Ninimud, whom his fathers and his begetters astound in the wisdom. Feel free to look at my family tree on the planets. Abound in all his wisdom, he was exceedingly strong. He had no rival. Thus were established the great gods, again planets. But Tiamat and Apsu were still in confusion. They were troubled ... in disorder ... should be Apsu there. Apsu was not diminished in might, and Tiamat roared. She smote, and their deeds ... Again, loads of bits missing. Their way was evil. So at this point, what's happened is the planets had no particular orbit around the sun, so they were in chaos. Then Apsu, the begetter of the great gods, in other words, see when it said earlier on that Tiamat was the creator of both, it said earlier, it's not, as you can see. It was referring to the two, Lamu and Lachmu. Cried unto Mamo. Again, if you're interested in what Mamo is, feel free to go and look at this family tree. When you click on it, you get more bits and stuff like that. It's on my Patreon page. Sorry, I keep losing where I am now. Cried to Mamo, his minister, and said to him, O Mamo, thou minister that rejoice in my spirit. So the Anunnaki spoke about the planets as if they were real. So forgive me if it doesn't make sense, but when you read enough of the Anunnaki, you know that they spoke about things, inanimate objects like dragons, which were comets, and they gave them personalities, etc., etc. Come unto Tiamat, O minister, that rejoiced my spirit, come unto Tiamat, let us go. So they went before Tiamat and lay down. They consulted on a plan with regard to the gods, their sons. So in other words, other planets. So Tiamat was one of the first, as it mentioned here. Apsu opened his mouth and spake. Obviously he didn't, it was the sun, but this is what the Anunnaki talk about. And unto Tiamat, the glistening one, he addressed the word ... by way ... their way ... By day I cannot rest, by night I cannot lay down in peace. I will destroy their way. I will ... So in other words, it was their orbits are not, they're going to end up getting smashed up by the sun. Let there be lamentation, sadness, and let us lie down again in peace. When Tiamat heard these words, she raged and cried aloud. She grievous ... she grievously ... She uttered a curse, and unto Apsu she spake. What then shall we do? Let their way be made difficult. Let us lie down in peace again. So again, talking about the orbits, that it was in chaos. Mamu answered and gave counsel unto Apsu, the sun. And hostile to the gods was the counsel Mamu gave. Come, Their way is strong, but thou shalt destroy it. Then by day shalt thou have rest, by night shalt they lie down in peace. Absu hearkened unto him. Sorry, I'm trying to read over a phone as well. It's quite difficult. I'm not reading from the actual phone. Then by day shalt they have rest, by night they shall have lay down in peace. Absu hearkened unto them, and his countenance grew bright. Since he, Mamu, planned evil against the gods his sons, he was afraid. His knees became weak. Of course, a planet wouldn't have knees, but this is how they talk. They give away beneath him because of the evil which their firstborn had planned. Their ... They altered ... They ... Lamentation grew, and they sat in sorrow. Then Ea, which obviously isn't Ea at that point. See, this is being written by Marduk, and as you'll see later on, so Marduk's given names out, which obviously Ea could have been an original name for celestial objects, etc. But at this point, obviously Ea wasn't born. This is 4.6 billion years ago. Ea, who knoweth all, went up and beheld their muttering. He spake ... Thy he hath conquered ... He weepeth and sitteth in tribulation of fear ... Lots of ... We shall not lie down in peace. Absu is laid waste, and Mamu, who were taken captive in ... Let us up. Thou didst let us lie down in peace. They will smite. Let us lie down in peace. They do repeat things a lot. Thou shalt take vengeance for them. Unto the tempest thou shalt. And Tiamat hearkened unto the word of the bright God, and said, bright God, obviously, Absu, son, and said, Thou shalt entrust, let us wage war. The gods in their midst of, for the gods did she create, they banded themselves together at the side of Tiamat. They advanced. They were furious. They devised mischief without resting night and day. They prepared for battle, fuming and raging. They joined forces and made war. Umahoba, Tiamat, another name that they believe, the translators believe was Tiamat, who formed all things, made in addition weapons invincible. Now, I'm not going to spoil that. Go watch my other videos. Made in addition weapons invincible. She spawned monster serpents, Sharptooth, and Merciless of Fang. With poison instead of blood, she filled their bodies. Basically, it goes on to talk about her preparing for battle. Sorry if I'm skipping it. Just you can probably get. She set up vipers and dragons, and the monster Lamho. Oh, sorry, Lamho. So, do you remember I was saying about dragons were comets? They were. They also have the name leopards in space. They have vipers. They have all sorts of names for celestial objects in space. And hurricanes, raging hounds, as scorpion men. Obviously, men wasn't around at that point. But this was written a few thousand BC. The mighty tempest of fishermen, blah blah blah, cruel weapons. Sorry if I'm paraphrasing here. I'm trying to find the bits that's interesting. Among the gods were her sons, inasmuch as he had given her support. She exalted Kingu. Now Kingu was the moon. So she exalted Kingu in the mist. She raised him to power. So this is interesting because a bit later on it talks about the tablets of destiny being given to Kingu. So Kingu, the moon, for Tiamat, although Tiamat was huge, so Kingu would have been a very small moon compared to Tiamat. To march before the forces, so this is building up to the battle between her and her sons and the sun. So Mamu, the sun, and Tiamat were all going to fight their sons. To march before the forces, to lead the host, to give the battle signal, to advance to the attack, to direct the battle, to control the fight. Unto him she entrusted in costly raiment. She made him sit, saying, I have uttered thy spell in the assembly of the gods. I have raised the power of thee, or the power, to dominion over all the gods I entrusted unto him. So the tablets of destiny are more than likely the celestial movements of the planets and the asteroid belts, etc., as well as some other things, but that's what it seems to be from everything that I've understood. Where was I? She gave him the tablets of destiny. On his breast she laid them, saying, Thy command shall not be without a vow. I apologise, I cannot read. And the word of thy mouth shall be established. Now, Kingu, thus exalted, having received the power of Anu, decree the fate among the gods and his sons, saying, Let the opening of your mouth quench the fire god. Whoso is exalted in the battle, let him display his might. So, as you can see, they're building up to a battle, and then it goes on to the second tablet, which I'll do another video of, because I probably bored you to tears now. It's 16 minutes, but everything does make sense later on as it goes through, when Marduk starts coming into the picture as a planet called Nibiru. Obviously he wasn't Nibiru, same as Ea wasn't our Enki, and Anu wasn't the father of Enki at that point, so the names have been changed. Or possibly that's what their original names was, and it just so happens that Anu decided to call his son Ea after celestial objects from the primordial dates. Hope all this makes sense. I apologise for my reading. This is why I was in special needs at school. I cannot read very well. So thank you, and I will do another one on all the other tablets, so you'll get the full story. Hopefully, let me know if you liked this, because if you didn't like it and I bored you to tears and didn't do a very good job, then I won't bother with the other tablets. Thank you.